Hi guys, welcome back to my channel today. So in my most recent video I made a tutorial on how to cut out this very pajamas top. So this is the continuation, and if you haven't seen the cutting of this very top, you may want to make reference to my other video and you will get to see the cutting of this particular top. Okay, so this is the continuation and we are going to start from here. Here is the facing. Okay, so I'm trying to arrange this facing and show you how to join them together, but before that you're going to have to cut out a bias strip with this pink satin fabric. Okay, so to cut this out, this is a satin fabric, right? So what you are going to do is to place your fabric on bias and then cut out your bias strip. Okay, all right, but now this fabric is like a scrapped fabric in my workshop, and then is already cut on bias previously. Like I used it to make another kind of dress previously, so that's why you can see that I'm not folding on bias. So what I did was just to measure out what I needed to cut out, that is the wideness of the bias that I needed. So the wideness I measured out 1.5 inches, and then from here I'm going to go on and cut out my bias strip. So this is the bias. I went ahead to cut out as many as I needed for this top. Okay, once you are done cutting out the bias, next is for you to use your steam iron to iron this in place, and then you're going to have to work on the center front. Okay, now to the center front, go in by 3 inches from the neckline, and then this is where you're going to start placing in your bias. So make sure that you use your pins to pin it down to the hem of the top, and this bias should be placed having the folded part inside. Okay, and then go over to your sewing machine and stitch using 1/4 inch. So you're going to make sure that you didn't start from the tip of the bias to sew. So just give about 3 inches gap and sew this down to the hem. So from here, once you are done sewing in the bias, next is for you to bring in your facing, and then to the facing you're going to have to fuse in your interface. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew in like this. Okay, so remember that I sewed in the bias strip with about 0.25 inches. Now once I get to my sewing machine, I'm going to sew the facing using 1/2 inch. Okay, and I'm going to do that to the both sides of my front pajamas top. Okay, remember that the front is divided into two. So now I've done the first one, I'm trying to also show you the second part of it. So I'm going to go over and sew this, and then I'll come right here to the table and we turn it out together. Okay, so you guys, you can see I've finished sewing it and I'm about turning it to the right side. So after I turn it to the right side, ensure that you turn out every part of it that may be stuck inside. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I pull out all the bias that may be stuck in. But then if you cannot use your hand to do this, you might want to use a broom or any long object that you can use to like pull it out, and then go ahead and iron this properly well. So now that I have the both side of my front, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my back. Okay, and then I will join the shoulders together. Okay, so the shoulder of my front, now I'm not joining the facing right now. Okay, just the shoulder of my top, I'm joining them together, leaving the facing separate. Okay, So I've joined the shoulders together, and this is what you can see. You can see that the facing is on its own. I've not joined the facing. Okay, so now that I've joined it, I'm going to bring in the facing of my back, and then I will join it to the facing of the front. Okay, and I'm sewing this using 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'll go right to my sewing machine and join this together. So now I've finished joining my facings together, and then my both front and back shoulders together. So this is what yours should look like. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and weave inside of this my facing, and then so that the rough edges will look very neat. Okay, now once you are done with that, you're going to go ahead and measure your round neck. Okay, so the measurement is going to start from that 3 inches that you started sewing in your bias from. Okay, so it's not going to be the whole of your neck line. Okay, I believe you understood me if I'm making sense. So you can see where I'm starting the measurements. Okay, I'm going to measure, and what I have there is 6 inches. Now I'm going to bring in a brown paper. This is just like trying to draft out my collar with a pattern. Okay, now once you are done folding this, from the folded part you're going to have to measure 2 inches for the length of your collar. I mean, that is how long I want my collar to be. And then again, you're going to have to measure the wideness of your collar, which is 6 inches. Okay, unfold, meaning that once you open this up, you're going to have 12 inches. Okay, so after I measured it, and then I used my curve ruler to mark it out, and I continued measuring the length of my collar, and then connected with my ruler. So this is the collar. I'm trying to cut it out right now. So now that I'm done cutting it out, so what I'm going to do next is from the open part, that is from the unfolded part, I'm going to go in by 1.5 inches and then go up by 1 inch. Okay, this is like to create a curve around that area to design the collar. So after I've done this, I'm going to go ahead and blend it up properly well, because we don't want any sort of sharp edge around this collar. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess that I don't need, and then open this up for you guys to see what it looks like. So you can see my collar. Okay, so when you use your tape to measure around the upper part, you see that what you should have there is 12 inches. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is to cut on my fabric, and cutting on my fabric, you're going to have to add 1/2 inch allowance all around this pattern. Okay, and we need about 2 of them. So I've cut out the first one, and I'm repeating the same thing to get the second one. So these are the 2 collars, and I also went ahead to notch the center of the collar. Okay, now I'm going to bring in my paper gum again, and then cut out exactly what I have on the pattern without adding up any seam allowance. Okay, now go ahead and bring in your fabric, that is the your collar, and then place this gum on one part of the collar, and then go ahead and insert your bias around the upper part of your collar. Okay, not the part that you're going to insert to the pajamas top, the part that is going to be facing upward. Okay, that is where you're going to sew in this your bias strip. Okay, and then go ahead to your sewing machine and sew all around it, leaving the down part open using half an inch. Okay, so after you sewed it, you're going to go ahead and turn this around, and also make sure that you pull out all the excess that might be stuck inside, and then give it a good press. Now what you're going to do next is to make sure that you locate the center of your neck and then the center of this collar, and you go ahead and join this collar to the neckline of your pajamas top. Now to join this collar is going to end on the 6 inches mark. Okay, I believe you understood me. So you can see the way I'm trying to place this. You can see where the collar ended, so I'm going to place this and then making sure that the bias strip is right inside. That is the excess bias strip that was remaining when I placed this on my center front is pushed inside. You can see it, and then I will go ahead and use half an inch to sew the neckline around. Okay, so you guys have stitched it. So what I'm going to do next is to go ahead and cut off this excess bias. Okay, so I'm cutting it off. I've cut off the first one, and now I went ahead to cut out the second one. So you guys, this is our collar. We are done, and right now I'm trying to pull it out properly well. So this is it, and I've already serged the rough edges of my facing. Now this is what we have almost done with this tutorial, and you guys, you can see how beautiful this is coming out already. Okay, so what you're going to do next is to go ahead and use your hemming gum and hold down your facings on your top, and then also sew your side seams using 1 inch, which is the seam allowance that I left, and then also hem the down part of this your pajamas top. Now to hem the down part, you're going to have to turn over like this. You can see what I'm doing. That is, the facing is going to be turned right side facing each other, and you're going to have to sew. And after that, you know that the facing is not around all the whole parts. So once you're done sewing up the facing, you're going to finish up the other down parts. Okay, using like half an inch. All right, so what I'm going to do next now is to cut out the sleeve. So for this sleeve, I'm going to mark out the starting line, and this sleeve is going to have like a band, and this is a short sleeve. So what I'm going to do, I want this sleeve to end around the biceps. So I'm going to, from the starting line, measure down to 8 inches and then mark out my band. Okay, so from this 8 inches, I'm going to mark out about 3.5 inches for the band, which is what I did right now. And now I'm cutting it out. So this is for my band. Okay, the part that I just cut out now is for my band. I'm going to keep this aside first of all, and then cut out the shape of my armhole. Okay, so I'm going to keep it aside, and what I'm going to do next is to go down by 3.5 inches, which is for my cap height, and then on that cap height line I'm going to insert my armhole measurements, which my armhole is about 9.5 inches, but I'm going to be making use of 10.5 inches because this armhole is not supposed to be exactly my armhole, because the pajamas is kind of a free pajamas, so that's why I'm using 10.5 inches. Okay, so I made sure that I have the right armhole that I needed, and then also made sure that I have the length that I needed, and then went ahead to the down part of my sleeve and measured my biceps round measurement and then cut this out. Okay, so this is it. I'm going to bring in the band and then trim it out a little. I'm not going to trim out to be equal with the sleeve for now. I'm going to trim out a little excess from it, and then now this is how you're going to also insert your strip. Okay, so for the bias strip, you're going to make sure that the folded part is inside, and then you place it and use your band to sew in with about 0.25 inches. Okay, so you can see I've sewed in my bias. So what I'm going to do next is to place my actual sleeve on the band, making sure that the right part of the band and the wrong part of the sleeve are facing each other, and they are going to sew this. Okay, and then folding in half an inch on the hem part, you're going to top stitch this towards the right part of the sleeve again. I don't know if you understood me, but after you did that, this is what it should look like, and you can see that the back is looking very neat. Okay, so next step is for you to go ahead and sew the side seam of your sleeve, which I left 1 inch. So I'm going to sew it in and then go ahead and sew this in to my top. So this is the sleeve, you can see. I'm going to go ahead and sew it into my top, and from there I'm going to go ahead and hem the down part of this my pajamas top, and this is finally our pajamas top. You can see how beautiful this is looking. So you guys, if this video was helpful, please do make sure to share this video to get more people to see it. I will see you in my next tutorial. Bye.